Hi, this is Chas Thunderwolf Stevens, your host of Misconnections, and today is our last episode. It's been a great ride to be able to work with Create Tulsa and the Tulsa Performing Arts Center to put this together and have artists from all different walks of life in the city of Tulsa get to meet one another and then give out those ideas and the conversations we've had to people who are aspiring artists or just members of the community. It has been a super fun time for me to work with an amazing group like our producers Matt and Will, our co-producer Alvin, and of course Sean from the Racks. I want to say thank you all so much for watching the show, sharing and liking and commenting on the post. It really has been the world to me. So for our final episode, we decided to do something a little bit different. Instead of having two artists from the same place or the same field talk about something, we decided to be a little goofy, but also a bit more serious, with our final episode being Two Mayors, One City, a sit down with Tulsa's mayor, Monroe Nichols, and Tulsa's humorous mayor, Evan Hughes. Join us today on our final episode as we go over multiple things that face the city of Tulsa, such as its art, our unhoused populations, and we, of course, get into a little bit of Tulsa sports. So, thank you again for watching all of the episodes, liking and sharing and supporting the podcast. This has truly meant more than the world to me and of the people who have worked on this show. This is Misconnections.
There's a lot to see, Tulsa, Tulsa, full of beauty. Let's stick together. No more misconnections.
Hi, today is our last episode of Misconnections, sponsored by the Tulsa Performing Arts Center and Create Tulsa, filmed here live in the Racks, Tulsa. My name is Chas Thunderwolf Stevens, and today we have an amazing last episode with two amazing guests. First is the city of Tulsa's mayor, Monroe Nichols, and man of the people, comedian, legend, Evan Hughes. So, first, let me ask you all this question. I want to know who's the real mayor of Tulsa. First, the way I want to kind of gauge this is by followers on Instagram.
He probably is beat there. And I mean, the thing for Mayor Hughes is that he didn't have term limits. I mean, he did 4 years, 8 years. He ain't got to worry about any of that stuff.
That's true. All right.
If I lived that long.
Evan.
Kind of makes you more like a dictator, actually, which is not great.
You're not great.
Yeah, it's
not
not a good
great.
look.
We're not a fan of third terms.
Some people
Yeah.
in this country would like it. But
Yeah, I think some people in this country think they're like a thing.
yeah.
I want to ask you all, like, both
Oh,
of
I
you
just
have...
realized you guys are both comedians.
Yeah.
I do other
that's
things.
It's actually not fair.
No, I do speech and debate, so I'm political aligned.
Well, I'm saying, I mean,
Yeah.
like, I'm
I was a
probably ahead of my
page.
skis. All right.
Yeah. We're kin.
Okay. I was all right. I'm just saying, trying to keep up.
We're all related.
But this is something I want to ask you both who have a career in this and kind of ask you some moments of moving from one field to another. Both of you have athletic backgrounds, from playing football to playing JV basketball. I want to know, what was it like to be a third-year letterman, and what was it like to drop 13 threes in a game?
You had 13 threes in the game?
it wasn't really 13. It was like 7. That's pretty good, right?
I mean, it's good, but like, why
Yeah.
did say 13? Where'd you get?
I thought it was 13. I'm sorry, I did. It's not
Maybe
a lot
I
of
exaggerated.
Stats.
I
Not
don't
a
know.
lot of stats out there for JV
I
middle
was
school
also gonna
basketball
say, if
from the
nobody
90s.
can fact check that, you just take the 13, man.
I would have taken the 13 as well. Yeah. A humble man.
I was like a young Steph Curry.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I can totally see that.
Yeah.
I can totally see that.
But I want to know, what is that like, having that kind of success in athletics and then moving to having success in a more public platform that isn't athletic based?
I can say for me, being an athlete growing up all the way through college, I mean, teach you a lot about life, I think. Certainly a lot about politics. I mean, you know, you kind of learn pretty early on what it means to be on a team. You learn early on that you got to pick yourself back up after you get knocked down. You learn pretty early on that, you know, you have to represent something bigger than yourself. You know, your name is sometimes on the backbone of your chest is usually the name of the team. And I think in my case, you learn that underdogs can still win.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think for me, athletics was a great way, you know, kind of think about life. And I think that was the greatest contribution in my life, being an athlete all that time, for sure.
Well, I was watching back a couple weeks ago. I was watching back my 7-3 game.
It's a pretty big game. There's
And
footage, huh?
there was still a moment where I got stuffed taking, you know, like the 8th one or the 12th or 14th, But that's humbling, and that could be a good thing. You shouldn't make all your shots.
That's right.
It's not good for you.
Yeah,
Okay.
but the lesson is you should still shoot your shot, right?
Yeah.
Shooters must shoot.
There you go.
Who you gonna pass it to? Kwame Brown. That's my favorite Kobe
You
quote.
do like. I mean, I will say we talked about this earlier. You do pull some random things out, like the Kwame Brown reference is pretty solid. I'll just say.
Thank you.
There's not many people pulling that one out.
Yeah. No jumper, no way to remember footwork to his name. I can do the whole Stephen A. rant. But there's other things that were more important.
Stephen A. Might be president.
So there's other things we definitely have to get to. And one of the things I definitely want to ask about is, artists in the city really enjoy living in Tulsa, enjoy having a connection to Tulsa. What are some things do you think artists don't know that the city has to offer? Like, I know the Arts Commission exists, and like, what are some ways that like local artists can get involved with the Arts Commission and things like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the arts community artists probably know the city better than just about anybody, because I think where you draw your inspiration from to create that art, a lot of times it's inspired by something in and around the environment that you're in. So I think artists oftentimes have a much more intimate view and understanding of a city, of a place, and oftentimes it doesn't take them long. So if you're an artist that's been here your whole life, or somebody got here yesterday, you see, I think you end up seeing the community and the world differently. And I think, and this is not a criticism for anybody who came before me, I do think there's been times in which maybe the city as an organization has not really understood how do you harness that appropriately. And it's tough, right? In a lot of ways. And so this year, we've actually now created the Office of Art and Community Engagement for ways in which we can better engage local artists and make sure that we're investing in their work, so that Tulsa's a place where you can be an artist and you can engage, make a little bit of money, and do what you love and be here in this place that I think makes sense for artists, right? Like, I mean, I think there's so much amazing history about Tulsa. There's so many things from which one could extract inspiration from, and there's this collision of cultures that I think would be really great for artists. And I'm not sure that the city has ever really figured out how do we get there. And it was something that was brought to my attention when I was running for mayor, something I committed to making sure we made good on. And so we have a lot of really fun news coming out of that here pretty soon. I think most artists in town will be excited about. But that Office of Art and Community Engagement it exists to engage local artists, and we are going to be able to make some investments there too.
Well, to add to what you're saying, I think I was thinking about that, and it's like we kind of have to explore Tulsa because we have to go find spaces to do our art in and things like that. So it's like we're kind of always in the comedy world. We're always trying to figure out where can we do a show. Yeah. So it causes you to kind of drive around and engage with people that you might not always engage with. We do a comedy show here. Right now we're talking to Coracle Coffee about doing a pop-up there, Misfit Kitchen doing a pop-up there. We do Summit Club, Chimera.
Places,
we do Sound Pony, Vanguard. We do so many comedy shows everywhere. Yeah. And like we kind of realized anything in Tulsa could be a space. Like we could do one in your office.
You could do that. I mean, you're the mayor last time I checked, so
the dictator.
That's right. That's right.
I do want to ask that.
They say it's the people's house, I guess. So.
This does kind of branch off what Evan's talking about. I was curious if the city would ever be interested in doing showcases like that, like a city hall type of showcase of art, or ways that the city could create platforms for more artists. Because we do have some amazing organizations here in Tulsa that create those, but maybe something from the city just kind of gives a different type of legitimacy to artists.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason why we create the office, right? So we can explore ways in which we do that. And so I think everything is on the table, right? So some of those ideas are going to come from the artist community around town to say, how do we best promote individuals and the community at large? And so I think all those things are on the table. I mean, what I'm really focused on, I said this a number of times, which you all do excellent research, so you already know this, so why should I restate it? But I will. For the few people who haven't, we talk a lot about winning the next decade. And, you think about all these cities. Now, I don't think that I don't aspire to be Austin or Denver or Nashville or anything like that, but it's hard to argue that those cities had like this amazing run for 10 or 15 years that took them from kind of maybe afterthought to one of the primary places where people wanted to go, artists included. And so, like, I think for us, as we're on the front end of that, part of our job is to deal with all the challenges the city faces: homelessness, affordable housing, public safety. But the other part of that is creating these unique opportunities for people who live here in ways that didn't exist before. And I think the arts community is one of them. So, like, if that is opening the doors of City Hall to do that, maybe that's one way. It's not the most accessible building in the world, but I think that would be, something that we'd be definitely interested to do, because the goal is making sure that people have the exposure that they need, and this becomes real center of excellence where people here can, make a living being an artist, but also people from around the country. They want to come to any festival we have. They want to come this because we've now put ourselves on the map. That's part of the goal. And I think all that goes into winning the next decade. It's about establishing yourself, defining yourself. We have an amazing artist community, and we got to find ways to better promote it.
Yeah, and that kind of takes me to the next question too. Where growing up in Tulsa, I graduated high school in 2014, so my youth during that time. My bad.
Must
I'm sorry.
be nice.
Didn't want to age you. But growing up at that time, a lot of my friends or people my age left Tulsa because they didn't feel like it had anything for them to be here.
Yeah.
As mayor, what are some things now that you feel like you're going to do to stop the, like, I call it like brain drain, art drain, even small businesses who feel like they don't get a lot of support in Tulsa? What are some things that you have kind of mapped out that could support those people who are saying, hey, I could actually make an investment here and stay here?
Yeah, some of it's listening to people, right? Like, what are the reasons why people leave, and how do we convince people to come back? I mean, I think it's really interesting. Some of the early data, anyway, I've seen, I guess it's not super early, but some of the data I've seen on something like, oh my goodness, the Kaiser program bringing folks back.
Tulsa Remote. Right.
When you talk to folks, what you find is, we have a lot of folks who left because they didn't see opportunity. And then you bring these folks in, and a lot of them end up staying way past the point in which they had to stay to get the $10,000 or whatever, because they end up, feeling like Tulsa's a place for them because of our quality of life. I think the big issue we have to tackle now is to make sure that kids don't have to leave here to seek whatever opportunity there is. So making sure our economy is diverse enough here as it is in other places, so you don't have to just be a doctor, lawyer, whatever. Like, you can do all these other things. And so some of the ways we're doing that, right now, thinking about what's the next frontier and, the national and global economy, we're doing a lot around drone technology, but also around the technology on engine testing for rocket thrusters.
Oh, wow.
Right now, 10,000 satellites orbiting the globe or something like that. In 5 years, that number is going to be somewhere in the 60 to 80,000. And so there's going to be a huge market for how do you test the engines that help navigate all that traffic in space.
Right.
Tulsa is going to have the only testing center that any company can test at. It's not proprietary. So we have that, so we can create opportunity there. And so I think a lot of it's like thinking about what are the industries out there that are hot, and then how do we make sure that the young people who are coming through school are prepared for those. And so some of it, I think, is, just, hey, looking at some of these other communities, looking at the unique things that they have, how do we bring that here in our own way? I do think, long term, we're going to have a real conversation about just the academic offerings here. I think we lose a lot of kids because, if you can't afford to go to TU, or the fact that TU is a really small school, or where else should you go if you don't go to TCC or whatever the case may be? One big advantage I think Oklahoma City has over us, for example, is that you got OU to the south, you got Central Oklahoma to
you got
north.
O-Trip, which is even a bigger community college.
Yeah, so I mean, you got all that
Oklahoma City
in
University,
there,
right?
And that drives business and industry. So I mean, you got a lot of industry there because they know that you can produce, the folks that you need. One of the reasons Austin kept winning, they could produce engineers. That's why they got Tesla and a lot of other opportunities. So part of it is also us really addressing the infrastructure needs, so that we're producing that kind of talent. There's options for kids who want to do maybe some career paths that maybe aren't as traditional, because we don't have a lot of non-traditional type of paths for folks right now.
Right.
And that's where we have to win at.
And I'm happy you bring up Tulsa Remote, because it's a question that a lot of people, when I told them about the interview, a lot of people did confront me to be like, ask him about it.
Sure.
But I want to kind of take it in a different direction, in the sense of, and this also for you too, Evan, in the arts world, I feel as if there's more integration. But I feel as if city-wise, people don't feel like there's an integration within Tulsa Remote transplants and Tulsa natives. And I was wondering, has the city had conversations with the powers that are above us to see how to fix those things or how that can be like bridges gap to them? And this is for both of y'all as far as
I don't think it's that bad. I mean, there's a lot of things. There's like the Sunset Social that they do at the Gathering Place and things like that. I've met so many Tulsa remote people. I generally think they're figuring it out. I mean, it's not perfect trying to, integrate yourself into any city. If you up and move to Chicago, do you think it's any easier to find a friend group than Tulsa? I've always thought that one selling point of Tulsa should be how easy it is to make friends here. How friendly people are. You can kind of find out, okay, these people are at Mercury Lounge and this is, you go over to these people are over here, these people are over here. It's kind of that once you figure that out, you've kind of unlocked your city. And I think Tulsa's been easier to navigate, I would say, than probably most other places. And I think that should be a selling point for us overall. Like, I think like the growth of, like you had mentioned, Nashville, it's like Nashville push, we're music city, and they got behind that. It was like they grew Nashville off of the arts. They didn't grow it off of like, oh, we got so many Taco Bells, we got so many Walmart. It was like they were like, music, come here, and it worked.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and I know there's a lot of people who have different perspectives on what Tulsa Remote means for our community and what it's done for housing, everything from housing prices, everything, all this kind of stuff. And I understand that, I can respect, and I do respect that. But I think some people they think about the program. I think there's a lot of folks who might be surprised that a friend they met is actually a Tulsa Remoter.
right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the program's been around since I think 2018 or something like that. I can't remember the year it was, but it's been around for a while. I think some people will be surprised that some of the people they know were Tulsa Remoters.
Oh, yeah,
right?
for sure.
And then I think, conceptually, if you think about it, it's just like getting a company to come here where they brought their new employees in and they're from other places. I think that, finding these different ways in which we grow, and I think it's a good test for Tulsa that is this a place that somebody can come from, Seattle or New York or, San Francisco or, Middle America and find a place here where they can build out a life. I mean, I think that means something that, this is a city where no matter who you are and where you come from, you can engage, you can enjoy the quality of life here. So, I mean, I think it's something to be embraced in a lot of ways. I think that we also then have to think about, like, how do you parlay that and tell that story where you have, companies that feel comfortable moving here because they know it's a great place for their employees. Like, we shouldn't make these things a secret, right? I think the challenge though in that and growth is a mistake that Austin made and some other cities made, is that they have this influx of growth, but their infrastructure can't take it. So sometimes when I hear people complain about it, I can kind of hear, like, these are the folks saying, hey, are we ready to, grow in those ways and all the things that comes along with it? And so I think we're at a real inflection point in Tulsa right now where we're going to decide what kind of city we're going to be. And I think finding ways to integrate is in some ways kind of who we have become now. Our history would tell us that didn't always work out well.
Right.
But I think generally speaking, if you think about it, the lapel pin I have on is the Tulsa flag, and the symbolism in the flag is one of those things all coming together, right? And so I think, our history going back from natives who came here before this was a city to, all the, black folks who came here because they thought opportunity was here, to the folks who, wildcatters, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
We're left with all those things now and figuring out how to pull it together. And I think for 2025, we're doing a pretty decent job.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, I totally agree. I think it's just one of those interesting things as far as dialogue that I hear a lot as far as Tulsa goes. And I'm always interested because I don't think anyone has, I think it's either it's a scale, like it's either you really hate it or you love it. And I think there's like a weird space to be in the middle sometimes.
It's kind of funny. Like when I was in the legislature, there were some decisions that I made at different times, and people just fly off the handle at you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't believe you would do something. Like, I can't believe you'd vote this way or not. And it's weird because, like, you got to vote yes or no on something,
Right.
which is typically absent all the complexities within, right? Mm-hmm. So you make these very binary decisions on like things that are super duper complex. Yeah. And so I do think it's funny that you find these things that are riddled with the appropriate context and everything. People are like, I either love it or I hate it. It's like, how can you love or hate Tulsa Remote? Like, there's a whole bunch of people in there. You love or hate all of them?
I think, I wanted to kind of talk about legislative thing and kind of talk about that togetherness. Because one thing I did find really interesting, and you reiterate this a lot in your previous interviews, you talk about a lot of people don't realize when you get down there to Oklahoma City, there is a lot of work across the board. And that was one thing because I paid for Senator Shoemate in high school.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember we went to like lunch with like Nathan Dahm, who I don't think he and I agree on anything politically, but he was nice to me as a high school kid. And so like those moments happen. Do you ever feel, and same thing to you, Evan, that like the view people have of you in the public is always going to be so skewed because they don't know you personally? And does that ever like kind of mess with you as far as like moving forward with the decisions you make?
Yeah, I think you might have to take this one first. I don't know.
Yeah, if I need to reword it, I definitely can.
There are some people who are as advertised.
Yeah.
But no, so this is the thing. I've always said this about the legislature, that what we produce as a body is not necessarily a fair representation of the quality of the people are who serve. And some of that's because, we have in politics, oftentimes you have all these kind of horrible incentives. You get rewarded for bad behavior all the time, and you get punished for telling the truth and, kind of trying to communicate with people oftentimes. I think what has happened is a lot of politicians have lost trust in the voting public. And so instead of telling them that, this issue that I know you all believe you're very passionate about, in this particular context, maybe things are a little bit different. That's why I voted no. That's why I voted yes. That's really harder to do than just do what you think is more politically expedient. And so that means the quality of what we do overall goes down significantly, right? Because most people, most of my colleagues who were, kind of centrist Republicans feared one thing every cycle: a Republican opponent that challenged them from the right. And so I think that's the reason why we got a lot of legislation that I don't think was reflective of really even the views of the people on the floor, right? So I mean, because of politics, you kind of find yourself in these weird spots. But I had this experience way back in the days, one of the first bills I filed, and it was a pretty hilarious experience looking back on it. So I had this bill that would have created a driver's authorization card for folks, regardless of their documentation status. And one of the reasons why is because the police departments in Tulsa and Oklahoma City said this was the number one public safety challenge that they had. On one end, it was because, people need to be able to go to driver's ed, learn the ways of the road, because that's dangerous in and of itself. And then the other end, when you're trying to help somebody who's been victimized or catch somebody who's victimized somebody else, it's impossible to do if nobody shows up in any system. And so I had one of my colleagues who went on the news and said I was trying to make Oklahoma a sanctuary state. And I get all these phone calls from all over the state. I mean, like it was wild. And this is my first year. Like I'm just getting here, right? And this one guy from Durant called me, and he said, "I can't believe you're gonna let these people have the privilege of driving and all this kind of stuff." I mean, just going off of me on a voicemail.
Oh yeah.
On a voicemail. So, I mean, I got like 10 or 15 of those, and I remember being so angry about it, right? And I didn't know what to do with all that anger.
Yeah.
And so I decided to call those people back. And I mean, probably little risk for me. None of them lived in my district necessarily, but I called them back and I explained to them why it was important. And first, I learned none of those folks expect callbacks because they were kind of surprised I called them back.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, when you add context, not all of them still agreed with it. They were like, "Oh, I understand why." And so then I was like, "Well, do you still want me to go back to where I came from?" But I mean, I think that was the thing, right? Like you have to call and talk to people because you're a cartoon character in some ways for some people.
Yeah.
Like the people who sometimes say what they may say about you on Twitter and all that, and they don't really know you.
Right.
I mean, so you kind of got to understand that people, kind of separate you from the person, and they associate you with, kind of the political commentary a day, and then you just got to let it go.
I think it just depends on, the level of platform that, your hater has. You know, I mean, if Stephen A. Smith is talking about Kwame Brown on ESPN or something, a lot of people see that, and that could generate a bunch of stuff. But if it's like, it's just somebody with no real following and they're saying something in the comments and something that's, you don't have to really worry about that, I think. But yeah, there's a lot of people that are like high-level grifters with big platforms, and they can start talking about people, and they do it just for their own views. And then you got to answer to that if it gets big enough. Like sometimes you do have to respond depending on how big how big the hater is or whatever they're saying.
And this is kind of a crossover question I want to ask. We kind of alluded to a little bit earlier. You're in politics, you're in comedy. Is there ever like a weird feeling of thinking about like the type of comedy in politics and the type of politics in comedy? And I can kind of break that down some more. For example, for me as a political nerd, I really enjoy funny moments in politics. Like, back in the day, one of my favorite scandals of all time is still Rob Ford, rest his soul, mayor of Canada, or mayor of Ontario, the realest to ever do it. Things like that were funny. But then I think about like the politics of comedy is more of like, certain people are like, we got to have this kind of show, these kind of shows. So I'm ever curious to know, do you ever think about things in like a different way? Like as a politician, do you think of things as a comedian? As a comedian, do you ever think of things as a politician?
Well, there's a lot of, punching down in comedy is kind of trending right now, but it'll flip back the other way after so long, So I think, I think if you're a good comic, you should think about, what the audience is going to think the same way you're going to think about what they're going to think if you're speaking in front of, the people of the city. I forgot the word for that. What do we call it again? Constituents?
Constituents.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's like your audience, So it's like if you're doing a set in front of them and you've said something that just insulted all of them, and they have a horrible reaction, it's like the same thing could happen to a comic.
Yeah.
You need a better set.
Nobody wants to be Chuck Grassley. That's fair.
Yeah. Or Jeb Bush, please
clap. Please clap.
Yeah. I think that what's really interesting about the intersection of politics and comedy is that there's so many comedians right now, like big comedians, and I'm sure this happens everywhere, but big comedians is usually, that's what people are kind of paying attention to the political conversation. It'd be kind of hard to do like a set on like local politics. Is like people be like, what?
Oh, challenge accepted.
No, please don't, because I don't want to be the butt of any jokes. So this is not a challenge. I was trying to tell you that it's impossible. You should not be tried ever by anybody until there's a new mayor. But if you think about some of the really, some of the great ones in more recent years, like a lot of their comedy is like political commentary. Like Dave Chappelle, D.L. Hughley, like a lot of those guys, like their sets are. Even Cat Williams, in a lot of ways. Like there's a lot of this intermingling, between the two, and I think that comics, even through comedy, can be really good storytellers and actually informers. Like I always think, man, the level of understanding that you have to have about a subject to be able to talk about it and make it funny for people who don't follow it as close to you is actually a really solid talent, right? And a lot of politicians try to tell jokes and doesn't normally turn out super well. Some people are pretty good at it.
I think the Inhofe Snowball is a top tier. If you were to ever ask me, is like one of the funniest political moments of all times.
That's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good one.
There's some bangers.
I think that there's some pretty legit ones.
Yeah, there's some good one-liners. I hate to say it, we do have a comedian in office.
What I was gonna say, he can get you all the way to the Oval Office now.
Yeah, it can. He got some good ones.
So I will say this. I've not really seen anybody at this level of politics who could so easily define somebody and it like stick to like everybody.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't really feel like he misses with those.
No.
Which
and
is just
simple.
wild.
They're so simple.
No, they're
Sleepy Joe. That's a simple one.
They are so that's one of the more complicated ones actually. It is wild. But when he was running the first time, I told somebody anything he had a chance. And like obviously I was on the other side of that election, been on the other side every time he's been up there. But I was like, do you realize he had the #1 show on television?
Right.
He knows how to communicate to masses of people in ways they understand. And I think he effectively put that to work.
It's all about marketing.
It's kind of funny how some of the things he's really bad at, people think he's good at, and some of the things he's actually good at, people think he's bad at.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah.
All right, I kind of want to play do a little pivot. I enjoy that I ask you all very serious questions and they turn into fun answers, so I appreciate that. This one is kind of a mix of both serious and funny. This is kind of a mayor versus mayor thing, just to kind of see where Tolson should align. The first question of our mayor versus mayor is, what is a reasonable amount of conies that a person should eat at a Coney Islander?
At one time?
At one time.
Reasonable amount?
Uh-huh.
3 minimum.
A range is fine.
Well, so
3
that's
minimum.
the deal. So the 3 is there, but I mean, I think like, what do you have to do the rest of the day?
Oh, that's a good. Wow. I didn't
big
think about that in the
context.
scenario.
I'm big context
All
guy.
right, we'll add some context. I think Coney Islander is best at lunchtime.
Okay.
I don't think it's a late night thing. I think if you go to Coney Islander, like right as soon as it opens, I think that's a little bit weird. But I think if you go at like 12, 1 o'clock, I think that's prime Coney Island hours.
I think you could leave some room for like a fried pie or some chips too.
Yeah,
See,
no,
I never get the pie. I always get. I'll be honest with mine. I'm a 2 to 3 guy. Strawberry soda, chips, and I get all dressed. Like I want cheese, onions, chili.
That's
whole
the
nine
other
yards.
question. Like, do you go to chili and like kind of what do you have to do the rest of the day?
Put paprika on it.
Which
Does
location,
paprika
too?
taste like anything?
It's like It's like a pepper.
Does it taste like pepper though?
I don't know if they use paprika or they use chili powder, but whichever that little red powder is,
I
I
was
use
wondering.
it.
Somebody told me paprika doesn't taste like anything.
I feel like that when people do it on deviled eggs. I will admit, when I have a deviled egg and it has paprika, I'm not tasting a spice, but whatever the little red powder they use at Coney Islander, it hits.
So I think this is my answer. I think my answer is he said 3 is a minimum. I feel like that's fair because they come in 3s. I feel like if you're going to do more than 3, you can then only do 6. And the reason why I say this is because you can't just order 4. That's weird.
Okay. Got to
Also,
order
believe,
the
also
threes.
believe 5 is weird. So I think you got to order the 3s, and then it's kind of
Okay.
hard. They're not great reheatable things.
No, they're
you know?
not.
So like I think you got to go 3 or 6. I would say you probably don't want to do chips if you think you can get to 6.
Yeah.
Like just go into it knowing that I'm not going to do the chips this time. I'm not a pie guy. This is a whole conversation in the mayor's office too.
Wow.
But I think it's 3 or 6.
Not a pie guy in general. I'm sorry.
No, not
that
at all.
wasn't on the list.
So
but
we
now
had
that
this.
you-
So we had this whole debate in the mayor's office if cheesecake, which I love, is a pie or a cake.
It's a cake.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so my defense was like, it's in the name. And Shane Stone, who's my government affairs director, said, "Well, a hot dog is not a dog." I was like, "Fair." So we actually had a lot of debate about this, and we came up with the because key lime pie came into the question. I was like, "Oh, that complicates things."
I guess in lemon rain too.
Yeah. So we have what's called the tart compromise of 2024.
Oh wow. Okay. I like
Yeah,
that. The
December-
tart compromise.
December 2024, we came to this agreement that we can all at least agree that cheesecakes, key lime pies, those kind of things can be tarts for the sake of argument. I believe it's still to be a cake, though.
As do I.
Yeah,
do I. Okay.
Sorry, I wasn't your
No,
question.
you're good. You're good. That actually is good because I kind of want to go into this is a little bit of our food portion.
Okay.
Because I do this one actually got me. This is when I knew that you were probably my new favorite mayor of all
right,
time.
let's go.
When you mentioned Garden Hong Kong, one of the best Chinese restaurants.
New Hong Kong. Oh,
yeah,
man.
right there on 11th.
Dude, when they closed after COVID, I watched those kids grow up.
Man.
I remember I first knew about New Hong Kong. I was a sophomore in college, and I was on TU's campus,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember, and I ate there twice a week for
You get
the
so
next.
much
It was
for so
delicious.
cheap.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was great. I
Yeah.
mean, COVID I think is what got them, and I even went to the new place over there, which is fine, but it's not the
It's
same.
not the same. It's
Yeah.
not.
I want to hate on, but
No,
like,
no, for
they're,
sure.
they're fine. But
I liked going in there. It had the wood grain, had that like real thick
Yeah.
glass. And you were right because they did do this. They took checks.
yeah,
which is
that's right. They took check, yeah,
Yeah.
cash and checks, man. I'm like, I don't feel like it's a good idea.
Yeah. So that leads me to the question of what is a restaurant you wish could come back to Tulsa? Mine is always going to be Stutz.
Man, bring back the Metro Diner on 11th.
Oh,
Remember that?
yeah. Okay.
Mine's New Hong Kong, man. Like,
Yeah.
there's
It's
no
just
doubt. Like, this-
loyalty.
Oh man, I would have eaten there today if they were here.
Man, yeah. We'll just do a moment. We'll have to do.
Did you ever try New Hong Kong?
I don't think I did.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It's over there by where
I feel
Rose
bad for you.
is.
I feel sad for you.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you would go in and like, because my friends who went to TU's would put me onto it.
So
And I
good.
mean, you would order food and like you get a to-go box stuffed. I
So
mean,
good.
stuffed. And it'd be like $7. And you're like,
Yeah.
Wow.
I've tried to find a new love, and it's been very difficult.
I will say, a little bit pricier, but my favorite place is Golden Gate on 28th and Harvard.
Golden Gate's pretty good.
Now, we do
I like
not
it.
appreciate Golden Gate slander, so this
No,
we will censor this part of the
no.
episode.
First of all,
Okay.
no, you get no slander out of me.
Okay.
No, they're pretty good. It's just like I compare everything to New Hong Kong, and so it's hard.
Wow.
But I've been to Golden Gate multiple times. I love Golden
Okay.
Gate.
All right.
It's
Just
good
throwing it
solid.
out there. Just,
No.
That's how they get you. They clip just that one part.
Yeah.
You know,
I
it's
know,
like the
right?
headline.
Yeah, it's like, oh, yeah,
Mayor
yeah,
said.
right. Mayor
All right.
hates-
We're going to pivot back to some more serious questions. Comedy and politics, I feel, are both very male-dominated arenas. And I would like to ask you all both one of the things I kind of want to ask is, what are some things that you all plan on doing, or what are some things that you already do to kind of diversify that can give women a more open entryway into your fields, or advice for women to have those entryways to your fields?
You gotta just put less men on shows. I
Yeah.
mean, even if there's 700 of them and 10 women, like you still have to put the show should still be half women,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, you know, like I was really proud to make history as the first black mayor in Tulsa, but, you know, I appointed the first Latina deputy mayor in Tulsa. So Crystal Reyes is deputy mayor. She's dope. She's,
Yeah.
I mean, incredibly smart, incredibly gifted. Laurel Roberts is the commissioner of public safety. So like a kind of a male dominated type of field and sector. Laurel, it leads police, fire, municipal courts, animal services. And she's a 29-year veteran of Tulsa Police Department. So she's there. Dana Walton's my chief of staff. Emily Hall is my senior advisor on homelessness. So like a really high profile issue at the city. So like I think part of it is like, you know, finding really talented women, which is not hard to do, and making sure that you put them in decision making roles. And I think that's a big part of it. You know, my dad died when I was 14. Parents divorced when I was 4. And so my mom raised me as a single mother, essentially. Like, I am who I am as a father, as a professional, all that stuff because of my mom. Like, so I know the importance that women have. And like, the other thing is, like, data bears it out.
Yeah.
So I saw some data way back when I was first in the mayor's office as a staffer, and it said, like, the number's like 82%, like, kids, their outcomes are tied to mom, like level of education, amount of money they make, all that kind of stuff. You would think maybe dad or whatever. No, it's like mom is the most impactful. So as we think about the environment there is for women in Oklahoma, that's why we're 46 in the country in child well-being.
All right.
So I think it's just like, as he said, part of it is just making sure that you put women in positions to be successful, not because like, oh man, you're doing such a good thing. A, you're gonna find they're more talented just about anybody you can find. But B, oftentimes, and this is just human nature, you end up, you know, putting people on who look like you, who kind of think like you, and you got to break that. And when you break that, I think you get the best ideas ever. And that's what we got in the mayor's office right now.
And I'm happy you bring up mom, because that actually is my next question. I wanted to ask about your mothers, because I think they have pretty interesting career list with 2 amazing sons, also apparently.
2
But
mayors.
The first, the first one I wanted to ask, Miss Curtis. She used to be the director of the workforce programming at TCC, and then was also over diversity outreach at Baylor. And then Evan, your mom, is Mary Piezold, is a Democratic fundraiser. But my favorite thing about your mom, before we get to like the big question, as I was doing the research for the episode, your mom has a piece in like the Tulsa World where she roasts Vic Rogaldo, which I think is one of the funniest things on the planet. Like just having your mom be like, please wear a tie, please wear a suit and tie, which I think is great. So the question I want to ask is, what are some things?
Oh man.
what are some things that you all have learned from your mothers that apply, or things that you could give us like a piece of advice from your mothers? Like my mom always tells me this. Her big thing she always tells me is like, you always want to do things to people like the way you want to be treated. You know, really generic one. Her other one is always and sorry to my mom, she always says there's a right way to do wrong. So that's kind of a lifestyle we might have lived maybe a little too well. But in a more positive light, what are some things
man,
that
you gotta do what you gotta do to get through.
But what are some things that your moms have told y'all that you all like to share, either to your son or to people you know?
Well, mine goes back to my 7 3-pointer game. You know, my mom always said, you know, shoot your shot. You know, you got to shoot
advice.
it. You know, and I think you know, you did that. I mean, I'm sure as people are going to tell you, don't run. You know, you can't win or whatever. It's like if you don't shoot, you know, it's never going to go in. So you can't listen to people telling you not to shoot. You know, and I think my mom always encouraged me to take my shots.
Yeah, yeah. One thing, mom, so she was a probation officer when I was growing up, which is like, yeah, enjoy that with your life, right? But I remember she used to tell her probation or something that I always remember because I hear her say it all the time. She always tell me your past is not your potential. And so like this concept that every day, no matter if it was good or bad, like you still got to wake up. And really the greatest challenge is success, right? Because then you got to wake up, you got to do it again, got to do it again, and do it again.
Yeah. And
then when you fail, knowing that there's obviously an opportunity, however whatever level that failure is, there's an opportunity to be better on the other side of it. It's funny, she never really told me that, but she told other people that, and it's how she lived her life that wasn't part of me. But your past is not your potential is the thing my mom used to always say that like actually was ingrained in me, although it was never directed to me. So I don't know if that meant that like maybe my past was my potential and she tell me. I don't know.
No, she probably figured you watched Lion King when Rafiki says it to
what's
Simba.
He say?
Remember his is like it's similar. It's like your past doesn't determine your future. Similar, like it's like it's not a parallel, but they're pretty similar to each other.
I'm trying to think what did Rafiki say.
We'll have to Google it. We'll put
you know what? I'm
this.
shocked that you don't know the answer to this.
Well, listen, I can only do so much.
I would say that's wild because like I would think like now after the last 45 minutes, I'm like if somebody said call one person who will know what Rafiki said in Lion King.
I'm pretty sure it's I want to say it's your past doesn't determine your future, something like that. Listen, the only movie I'm really good at quoting is Star Wars, specifically Episode 3 and Django. I can do both of those movies almost line for line. Outside of that, I'm very. It comes and goes.
Interesting two movies.
Yeah.
As you can tell, we have a lot of diversity as far as the show. As you can see, this is the first show we've ever had all the guests, even some of the crew, we had to wear suits or dress up. So this is
really?
Yeah, that was part of the. We thought you were gonna dress more casual and it'd be more fun, but you came to the nines and we did not expect
I'm wearing
that.
jeans.
Yeah, no, but you got like it's still like a nice fit. Like if I wore my normal outfit, people would not take this interview serious. This is the only way I could do it. Like even my tie, I had to keep it a smidge goofy, you know? Yeah. This is my favorite debate tie when I competed. All right, my bad.
What's your favorite debate topic?
Oh, okay. I don't have favorite topics because I don't think the topics are always fun. Plus, you go through so many of them. I have like more of like favorite debate rounds. Like when I got to in high school, it was okay. When I got to college, that's when I kind of figured it out for myself because I had a coach that like really showed me some different stuff, and I got like really intense in debate rounds. Okay. My favorite round for me, I have two. I'll go through the first one.
Let's
the favorite. I was doing an event called IPDA, which is you and your opponent get 6 topics, and then you have to strike through until you get the last topic. So it's like round 6 of the night. We're all tired. It's like 9 o'clock at night. We're in John Brown University in Arkansas in Springdale. And I go against this guy from Northwest Arkansas, and he was rude to my teammates at a different tournament. So when I saw him, I was like, oh, it's up. Like, I'm ready for it.
Y'all beef like that?
In debate?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because you got to think it's mental to mental.
No,
right?
no, I know.
Yeah.
I have a debate, so I can't tell. I don't think on this.
Oh, I have questions about yours.
Okay.
I got them on the list.
Oh, okay.
So, me and the guy go against each other, and we go through our topics. And the last topic on the list was Kobe Bryant should retire. And it's like 2016, but it's like August. Or like it's like August of 2015, rather.
Okay.
So it's the year he's gonna retire.
Yeah.
But it wasn't he announced it yet.
Okay.
So I was kind of like, oh, Kobe's been my favorite. Like ever since I was a kid, I had home jersey, away jersey. Not to like break the fourth wall. Evan will tell you how
24
much.
and 8. Yeah, both of them.
Oh, I had when I was a kid, it was only 8. By then, my parents weren't buying me jerseys because they were too expensive. But I did have a 24 T-shirt.
Okay.
I even had like one of my favorite birthday Christmas presents is Kobe doing a full spin. I hate the poster ripped, but it's him dunking the globe into a black vortex. And that hung up above my bed right next to my Michael Jordan poster.
There you go.
So Kobe has been my GOAT. So the guy, we choose the question. He goes, let's just do I'm going to do the accent because it's fun.
Yeah.
He's like, let's just do the Kobe one because it'll be fun, right? You know anything about basketball? And I didn't like this guy. So I was like, nope. I don't know. This is touchdowns, right? And he goes, well, you got 30 minutes to research it because you only get 30 minutes to write a case and you go debate. And I was like, all righty. I will tell you now that and before in 2001 Game 5, before that game, Kobe Bryant, Allen Iverson dropped the 61. Kobe Bryant watched a video of I think it was orcas or sharks hunting seals. And that's how he prepped for the game before he locked up Allen Iverson. I, on the other hand, watched videos of wolves hunting moose. And I watched that video for like 20 minutes of my prep time. The last 10 minutes, I wrote my like little statistics down. Winning that round, cooked the boy.
Yeah.
Like he's hitting the sweat. He's hitting like this. And we walk out of the round. It was a clear 3-0. Like we had 3 judges. I won on a 3-0. And he comes up. He's like, whew, you sure do know a lot about Kobe Bryant. And I was like, well, we had 30 minutes to research it, didn't we? And like, that's my favorite round. The second one's a little bit short of a story. Go against this girl. I think we were in Hutchinson, Kansas. She went to a bigger school. I went to TCC. And before the round, she's like dry heaving, like that. And so I go, are you okay? Like, do we need to like call off the round? And she's like, no, I'll be okay. And I started feeling bad. I'm like, oof. So we get into the round. She's normal.
Oh,
like,
she got
perfectly
you
normal.
Sandbagging.
And I was like, wow.
Oh, man.
And then
Rope-a-dope.
what she did it.
Got him.
What what she doesn't know is
She did the
I
Kobe
didn't
Bryant
care.
thing to him.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
she got cooked too. She got cooked too. And here's the best part about that win against her was I actually prepped the wrong side. Like I walked into the room thinking I was the affirmative. I was actually the negative, which then gave me like 5 minutes of extra prep time while she spoke. And I was like, oops, guess I got to make counter arguments to all the things I wrote earlier. Boom, cooked her. So yeah, me on the other hand, like I said, before debate rounds, I used to play Waka Flocka and Gucci Mane, lock in, and it was my last year competing, I was state champ at IPDA, and then at national tournaments, I was like top 16 at least in 3 of my 4 years competing.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well,
Yeah. And now I coach it, so I'm all in for it.
What music do you listen to before you have to give a big speech or something like that?
Ooh.
Well, so it's weird. Like I hate to admit this, I don't really end up listening to any music anymore.
Wow.
Like I oftentimes like in my car, and this is just a function of it's like laugh out loud radio is usually on. So usually I'm listening to a comedian when I'm driving places. It's kind of wild.
Okay. So as comedians, now we want to know who's on your comedian list that you like. There might be judgment.
Well, I mean, there's a ton of them. I mean, I actually think Shane Gillis is really funny right now.
Yeah,
cracks me up. I think Cat Williams funny. His last couple specials are kind of like, I'm not sure about those.
Also coming to Tulsa soon.
Yeah. But I mean, I think he's off the charts, funny, entertaining, whether it's on the stage or in movies or just like talking. Like he's just a funny dude to me.
Yeah.
Even like probably on accident most of the time. Like he's just funny. D.L. Hewley's long term. Chris Rock is kind of one of a Mount Rushmore type comedian for me.
Okay.
I think Chappelle's good. I mean, he's not as like slap your leg funny or anything like that. But
Are you familiar with the Blue Whale Festival in Tulsa?
yeah,
Yeah, this is gonna be the 10 year of it.
is it the 10 years?
Yeah, it's gonna be the 10. Yeah.
Sounds like we should have a guest set from Mayor Nichols.
So I tell you this, I have a friend of mine. He's in Congress now, and then we used to work together on the same team at Strive Together. And I was one day telling him, I was like, one of these days when I'm traveling somewhere else outside of Tulsa, because I was in the legislature at the time, I'm gonna go do like an amateur night, like an open mic deal. I was like, I think I can be funny, right?
Yeah.
And he showed me he had done a set. Like we both are like in politics. He was on the Cincinnati City Council time. He's in Congress now, but he had actually gone and done a set on stage.
Wow. So
like there's a lot of politicians that aspire to do comedy.
There's Al Franken. He did both,
Yeah, Al Franken was like, I mean, he's like a super outlier. He's like a pro at both. Like I'm talking about people that do it.
Yeah.
Like being a pro and doing it are two different things.
All right. I do want to ask you all this. Let's see where we were at. Okay. I want to ask you all this, and I kind of want to bring it back to our unhoused neighbors, right?
Yeah.
I know that's a big part of your policy agenda moving forward to reduce the number to where it's almost absent in Tulsa.
Yeah.
I want to ask about like specifically Evan and I have a friend who passed away named Stacy. Miss Stacy was a staple as far as like the community downtown.
Yep.
And I think one of the things that we always talk about is for people who stayed downtown or in that area, knew Stacy and a lot of other unhoused neighbors, and we see them as humans, we see them as friends. And if we don't have the money, we're honest about it. If we can give something, we can. one of the things you always you talk about is making sure we lead with empathy.
Yeah.
For example, like I really do applaud that we don't arrest people or criminalize unhousing situations. But I do want to ask, and if the city has ever taken or the city looked at steps of like reducing like hostile architecture. Like one thing to me, and at first I kind of thought it was like maybe it's a glitch, but like driving down and under some of the bridges, the flashing lights, I'm like maybe it's for the birds, but then I realized maybe it's for people, or benches that have spaces that don't have it. Is that something that the city talks to private businesses about, or?
It's not something, I'll be honest, it's not something I've talked to anybody about really. I don't know if I've thought about it at that level. I think the big thing for me has been, making sure that, as best we can, that when there's issues of like safety, we can address those, and how can you address that, from an architectural standpoint. But not necessarily the benches or the underpasses. I mean, like it's so convoluted when you get into it. Like, if you're under an underpass, the city or ODOT or whatever, like there's all these different folks who it may be their responsibility to do something about it there. But I think right now, like, at least for me anyway, I think that we have this obligation to get people housed as quickly as humanly possible. At the end of the day, it's not safe to live under a bridge.
Right.
It's not safe to live in some of these spaces. And so you got to really weigh, do you want people to be comfortable under a bridge where it's not safe? I mean, the problem is we've not matched that with the obligation to have safe places for people to go. Right. And that's what we're trying to account for. And again, these are things I would have done in the same situation. So this is not me criticizing anybody, but, we've had, sometimes we've had, people under underpass when it's cold, start a fire, then it,
right,
impacts the structural integrity of the bridge that they're under, right? And so we got to think about this from all those things, right? So like, I think for us, it's like really trying to figure out like, yeah, we don't want people in certain places, but like, hell, it's really hard to be like, you can't be there.
Right.
Well, where am I going to go?
Yeah.
I'm going to go across the street. I'm going to go here and go
And
there.
I'm the son of firefighter. Like my dad was a firefighter. Uncle, my grandpa was one of the first black firefighters.
Yeah. What's his
it's Cletus Stevens, all Stevens. So Cletus, Donnie, and Ronnie Stevens.
Yeah.
My dad is Ronnie. Ooh, I almost messed that up. So yeah, I think that's one of those things. Like my dad telling these stories, and my stepdad was a homicide detective.
Yeah.
So I hear these stories is from the city perspective, and you're just kind of like, wow, I don't know why. Like I feel like the people who work for the city know how to have that kind of empathy, but just like for some reason, like the city itself has never, I felt, led with that kind of empathy.
I mean, I think in a lot of ways we got caught as a community, right? Thinking that something like homelessness would just go away.
Right.
Like that, people would just go away. I don't think we prepared ourselves for being able to address the issue with compassion, because there was a time where taking people to jail for that's what you did.
Yeah.
And then you realize, well, that's expensive and it don't make any sense because you can't put them in prison forever.
Right.
And then they can't pay fines. And I mean, not saying that should be the reason why you don't do it, but it's like, that's not effective.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, oh, well, we'll make it uncomfortable for people. Well, I mean, it's already uncomfortable to be homeless. So what are you talking about? Right. Instead of doing the work of making sure we were a community that had the infrastructure to take care of folks, we decided to go in the other direction. And I will tell you, for me, I'll probably should shorten the story, but I think it's an important one and how it's impacted me as a mayor in particular. There's a lady I met before I got elected. I went on a ride along with some housing solutions outreach workers. And one of the 4 individuals that I met, she was telling me her story. She's a former teacher. She had gotten into, I think, a bad relationship. That bad relationship, as bad relationships do, kind of take you off course, ends up losing her teaching contract. That relationship falls apart. She gets evicted. Now she's on the street. This is a teacher, by the way. Now she's on the street. And she was living at Tradewinds. Like they got a grant to put her in Tradewinds, but outside of that, she's homeless. Like once this grant ran out, she knew where to go. And she told me, just like asking me, like, she's like, why women who are homeless wear so many clothes in the summer? And I'm thinking, I don't know, like, so you can keep up with them, or, she said no, so, because nobody's going to work that hard to rape you. And so when people say, "Oh, some people want to be homeless," I'm like, I don't know about that.
Right.
I don't know about that. It may be a lifestyle in some ways, but like, it's not most people's experience.
It's
you know
a
what I
real
mean?
survival. Yeah.
And she also told me this thing. This is what changed me and how I interact with people. Because like, I've never ignored people, but sometimes if somebody's on this, there, I will proactively, I would have said, "Oh, I don't have any cash," thinking that's what they were going to ask me about. Like,
Right.
and it wasn't a lie, but like, but it's also dismissive to tell somebody something before they ask you what they're going to ask you. She told me the story after she'd been on the streets for a little bit. She yelled at this guy. She said, "Can you see me?" Yelled like 3 times. And if you're sitting at Quick Trip that day, like, this woman is crazy.
Yeah.
And she said, I had grown so accustomed to trying to talk to people and they walked right past me because being homeless just stripped me of my humanity. And so now I don't ever pass somebody to say I don't have cash. Like, I make sure I understand what they're trying to ask me. Now, I used to walk around downtown and smoke a cigar on Sundays when I was working because I work every, throughout the weekend. So I take Sundays when I can take a cigar walk. And there's a guy who stopped me, and this is after this whole experience, obviously, and he asked me for a lighter. And the only lighter I had was one that was given to me as a gift with my initials engraved on it. Lost that thing, man.
Oh man, but I think that's something because I read about a similar story like that with like there's a page called Humans of New York.
Yeah,
and that's what kind of like led me into
it's a like Facebook or something.
No, it's I started off on their Instagram, but this is like years and years ago. But they do have a book they release where they don't do just people who are unhoused, but just people in New York and ask their life stories, and you kind of get this more empathetic view of human beings you don't know.
People, man. You know what I mean? Like you see somebody as somebody used to be a teacher or whatever, but even somebody who made bad decisions down their luck, right?
You still see them as human beings,
100%.
right? And I think that was one of the things that kind of hit me early in my youth. That was kind of like, wow, like same thing to you, where you kind of are dismissive, and then someone in the post on the page specifically was like, people act as if they don't see me,
right.
And that's always the toughest thing for me. And I think it's just kind of like deconditioning yourself or like unlearning the things that you learn to kind of like have as a protective thing. And one thing that always stood out to me as far as like unhousing, I'll get to like a serious question because we're running to wrap up. I want to ask one fun question.
You don't think homelessness is a serious question?
No. I'm sorry. I'm going to ask a goofy question. I'm sorry, goofy question. I like to end on a happier note. But I'm sorry.
I'm just messing with you.
See, a comedian. But one of the things that got to me was like I saw 2 police officers and they had 2 guys on the handcuffed and another guy. They all 3 were unhoused, and one was saying he stole my stuff. And so they have the other guys, and the guy gets his stuff, and they're pulling stuff out of his pocket. And in his pocket was a hatchet. And in my head, I was just like, a hatchet? I mean, like a full size. And I'm like, well, I guess if you think about it, like, this man's outside all night by himself. Like, he has to have something. I'm sure a gun wouldn't be like something he could just have access to. And it just kind of like shifted my view a lot as far as like 24/7 is like, this is where I was going to lead the question to is like, is our healthcare system getting better for people who are unhoused, or like, do you think it's moving in that direction where we can get people the adequate help they need, or even just general basic healthcare to like maintain a lifestyle?
I mean, that's the hardest system to navigate.
Yeah.
Right. And you'll see we do a ton in uncompensated care throughout the hospital systems, Hillcrest, OSU Regional probably being 2 of the heaviest providers of it.
Yeah.
And I think what is so interesting about, like, we came to this conclusion with incarceration was, it's too expensive to incarcerate folks, so we should need to have criminal justice reform. A lot of people felt that way. And like, that is a fraction of what we spend to get people health care who don't have it. Right. And so the idea that everybody doesn't just have it is like crazy to me because it's like so expensive otherwise.
Yeah.
And honestly, if more people had it, you increase the risk pool, like all this kind of stuff. The economics of it actually work pretty well, which is why, as we were, and this is not necessarily political sound, I guess that's fine for you to make one. That's why you saw, as you expanded Medicaid across the country, state budgets got better, hospital budgets got better, like those kind of things all got better because more people were covered. And the states that have failed to do something very similar are states that continue to struggle on that front. It's not perfect, but like it's better than having people walking around without it.
Yeah. All right. Like I said, want to end on a less heavy question, something a little bit more fun. Plus, we got to bring Evan back into this because He's falling asleep.
I got
over
a
there.
question for you, Evan. If you could be an ambassador to any country in the world,
Ooh,
I would just choose this one because I'm already here.
that's not.
oh, that
That's not.
that's not a good answer. It's not a good answer.
Sorry. I was trying to make Chaz laugh.
I mean, I guess if you're, you're not supposed to laugh at dictators. First
Yeah,
of
you're
all.
right. I'm not supposed to laugh at dictators.
Yeah,
you're right.
just-
You're right.
That could lead to death.
Yeah, you're right,
But you
you're
go
right.
ahead, man.
Okay. I wanted to ask you all this one. I recently watched a movie on Evan's behalf called Goodfellas. I just saw it for the first time.
Okay.
So I'd like to know, some people like to live the mob life, but I kind of want to ask a more like political movie question for you. What political world, like in a movie, do you think you would thrive in? So for me, I think I would do really well in The Campaign. If you ever saw that with
Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I know West Wing is one of your favorite shows. Do you think you would thrive pretty well in West Wing?
Yeah, in a make believe land where people always, do the right thing and appeal their better angels, absolutely. I would do well in that. Yeah, I mean, West Wing was one of my favorite shows. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to go on a different track that nobody asked me about, so
Okay. That's
I
all
held
right.
it in. You said it's growth.
Yeah. That's growth. That's growth. Okay.
What about him?
Oh, sorry. Evan, what world
You
would
said
you
we're
like?
gonna
Well, he
bring him
couldn't even
back
name
in.
another country. So
That's fair. That is fair. Yeah, you got. Yeah, you are now the ambassador to Broken Arrow.
You heard it here
forth.
first.
okay, I promise. And then last one, because I just want to have a little bonus snippet. I promise.
You still didn't let him answer the question.
Listen. Well, he okay, fine. Go ahead, Evan.
I like Goodfellas.
That's why we didn't let him answer.
Hey man, that's the last time I'm advocating for you, dog. Last time.
Oh,
All right,
man.
and the last question I have for you all is: what are some things you're looking forward to in Tulsa this upcoming year? For me, I'm definitely looking forward to Blue Well. I'm going to plug something since it's the last episode and I've never plugged anything of myself on the show. I am looking forward to having comedy and rap shows more often. And I'm looking forward to that. So that's me. That's my 2025 happiness for the year.
Well, I'm as probably a lot of people know, I would say I'm hyper focused on the stand-up scene in Tulsa and just growing that. I feel like we're always behind where we want to be in terms of it's not necessarily like recognition or anything like that. I think it's just, I don't know, it's kind of like you race against your own time. I'm trying to do better than last year for me. I'm not really thinking about like it's not about how others view it, it's how I view it. I'm always trying to focus on comedy. So all my answers are going to be that. Like I've kind of dedicated my life to that, and I do think it is a big selling point for Tulsa. It's kind of surprising, how many comedians, comedy around the country is like one huge network. It's crazy. There'll be like comics in Phoenix who know exactly what the temperature of like the Oklahoma comedy scene is, so I'm always trying to keep Tulsa comedy on the right track, or what I would consider to be the right track. I mean, I think, how people, where we are in Oklahoma, what I'm trying to keep the comedy scene something we could brag about, so I'm always trying to work on that. I'm sorry, I said basically the same thing.
That makes you a good politician. So like how do we make the comedy scene better? Like what should be different about this community to do that?
Our mayor needs to do a set.
I agree with that.
Is that what you think?
No, I have a real answer for that though. I feel like we're constantly getting into more spaces where we're more trusted than in the past. Where I think it's like when I started out in early 2015, it was sort of like there were all these spaces for stand up which were absolutely unthinkable. It's like we will never get. And then slowly over the years we've been welcomed, through these doors and through these doors and through these doors. And I think we're always trying to continue to earn that trust, where it's like the word is out there where they're like, if you let Evan and his comics come in, it's like it's nothing but good vibes. Nothing gets broken, nothing said that anybody has to apologize for. It's just a good time, and it represents what Tulsa wants to be about. Because I think, going back to what we said about, Nashville, for example, it's like I would love for people to talk about Tulsa and be like, Tulsa's a comedy town, because people are already saying that about music. Like people are like, Tulsa's a music city. They talk about all the music venues that we have, and I'd like to grow that number of, we have 3 or so comedy clubs here, but we have a lot of other alternative spaces for stand up, but we're always trying to add to that, So I just want it to get bigger and bigger and better and better and better. So that's my focus.
So, me, I'm looking most forward to this coming fall. Gavin will be in his senior year in football.
I had a whole question for that too.
Yeah, he'll be senior year football, so I'm excited about that. I'm that dude. I wear all the stuff, and I've gotten to a place now where I'm very supportive and not super critical, but I'm really excited for him.
Yeah.
And him going through this phase. I'm kind of sad too, because it's like, man, I can't believe
About to get out the house. Yeah,
man, it's like that kind of kills me, but I'm gonna enjoy this fall. I'm really excited about it.
Who has better highlights, you or your son?
I do right now, but I mean, I have a whole whole year on him in high school.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I will say, like, I wish I was his size when I was his age.
Okay.
Like, he is a better, like, from a talent perspective, he's better than I was.
Oh, okay. We like that.
Did your son work at Liquid Lounge for a bit?
No, his friend did.
His friend. Okay,
His
that's what I was
friend
saying.
did.
I was like,
Okay.
His friend did. Yeah. No, Gavin is he doesn't work. We're over here praying for the NIL, man, because it's blood.
Well, I want to give a thank you to my guest again.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
The name of the episode again is Two Mayors, One City. Thank you again to City of Tulsa Mayor Monroe Nichols
absolutely.
and City of Tulsa's art scene. I don't know what they call it, whatever
Ambassador
title.
Broken Arrow.
Yeah, Ambassador to Broken Arrow, new Ambassador to Broken Arrow, Evan Hughes. Again, my name is Chaz Thunderwolf Stevens. This has been Misconnections, filmed here at the Rax Tulsa, sponsored by the Tulsa Performing Arts Center and Create Tulsa. Thank you so much for enjoying the season with us. Before we wrap up the season, I want to give a big shout out to our producers, Matt Sloan, Will Rutherford, our assistant producer, Alvin, I don't know his last name, and of course, our host of the Rax, Sean. I also don't know his last name. So I want to thank you all so much for having us this year.